Remote communication isn't always easy. How many of us can relate to that statement? I do. Many people can. You are not alone. For example, at 10 p.m. a corporate lawyer gets a text from a colleague and wonders, not for the first time by the way, if there is a protocol about work-related texts after a certain hour. Serious. Another example, on the weekly team conference last week, a remote team member is confused about whether her colleague is really on mute when she delays a response to a question, or if she's just not paying attention and is using this as an excuse. The digital era has caused a revolution in communication that's equivalent to the importance of surrounding the invention of the printing press. It's changing how we speak to each other, often in bullet points. It's affecting what we hear and how we hear it. Struggling with the comprehension of the jumble of information coming at us can frequently lead to misunderstandings and confusion. So with this improvement in communication, why do remote teams demand new collaboration skills? What's missing from our text, emails, conference calls, and other digital communications? Our language has changed. We are lacking body language. Even when we are co-located, the tone of a text or the formality of an email is left wide open to interpretation. These misinterpretations create an anxiety that can become costly, affect morale, engagement, productivity, and innovation. Remote communication can distort the normal pace of our conversations. The delay between our messages can often postpone or hide emotional reactions to our comments. How many times have you written an email and, immediately after hitting send, felt concerned about how it would be received? Would your boss see your late-night email and consider it to be an intrusion on their private time? Maybe. Would your boss openly communicate their feelings and tell you if it was? Maybe not. While we may have become used to these types of asynchronous interactions, they can still conflict with our normal rules for social interaction. Lacking an immediate response, we can become distracted, second-guess ourselves, or even grow frustrated with our teams. When remote teams communicate well and utilize their strengths, they can actually gain an advantage over competing businesses. Here are some best practices to master. Don't conjoin brief communications and clear communications. In our efforts to be efficient, we sometimes use fewer words to communicate. Yet, this can lead to misinterpretation. Don't assume that others understand your cues and shorthand. Spend time to communicate with the intention of being exceedingly clear, no matter the medium. Don't overwhelm your team with messages. Do you follow up on a task by email, text, and phone? Do you tend to ask people if they got your previous message? Using all of them for the same message is ineffective, as well as annoying, by the way. Choose your digital volume wisely. Establish communication expectations. Remote teams need to create new norms that establish clarity in communication. Companies such as Merck have created acronyms for their digital communications, like 4-hour response for HR and no need to respond, and NTR, that bring predictability and certainty to virtual conversations. Individual teams can also establish their own norms, for example, to use or not to use Slack, Google Docs, or WhatsApp groups. And norms can also exist on an individual level, such as people's preferred response time, writing style, and tone. See the hidden opportunities in written communications. Being behind the screen can create new opportunities for certain team members, creating space for those who might be less inclined to speak out in groups. Text-based communication places less importance on interpersonal skills and physical appearance, offering an effective way to share power and decision-making. Research shows that introverted individuals are less inhibited in online versus offline interactions. That creates intentional space for celebration. Birthday cakes are still important for remote teams. Creating virtual spaces and rituals for celebrations and socializing can strengthen relationships and lay the foundation for future collaboration. Find ways to shorten the affinity distance. For example, a company we worked with celebrated new talent by creating a personal emoji for each employee who had been there for 6 months. You can find your own unique way to create team spaces for social connection.